Lovely.
All right. I fully can.
Thank you so much. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and call the session into order. Fabulous. We do have a quorum here of 3. We're going to postpone. Oh, and here is our president, Jarrell. So we are going to postpone the minutes for approval for next time from our February meeting. And we're going to go ahead and look over the claims for this month as our next order. This is good. And these are our claims for today. Do we have any questions about the claims for this month?
I do. I'm still new to this. I see the list of invoices that we received and how much they are to pay. Is there an accounting that we get as to what those expenditures were for, what the product was?
I can speak generally to it. I mean, so generally there's a summary. The summary is what's distributed. If you have questions, we're certainly happy to answer them. I can walk through those matters that are on this month's. So there's engineering costs to BCA, Bruce Carter and Associates, who has a grant that they are administering on behalf of the Redevelopment Commission for environmental matters within the redevelopment area. So that's those are all the BCA claims on there. My bill is on there. There is a payment to the Indian Chamber of Commerce, and I can have Greg speak to that if you have questions about that. But that is a contribution that my recollection is that this body approved previously. And then there is a payment to the Develop India as well for another project that this, so those are all, to my belief, those are all projects that have been previously approved, and so there's invoices, paying for those with the exception of mine, which is just a monthly invoice.
Okay, so then is there like an out brief or a report or something that's associated with those, or who, again, I apologize for my ignorance, who's responsible for tracking what this invoice was, what it covered, and that it's not being, that we aren't missing payments or that we're not double paying for things?
Right. Good afternoon, members. Yes, so my name is Humphrey, and I'm the controller, city controller. I do have my staff here as well. So yes, we do keep track of those invoices and those claims, and that's why the plan is to be attending this meeting, so when you have such questions, we can be able to explain to you. But as far as tracking them and getting those payments out, we do that using our software. We also do intend to be providing with you monthly financial reports, which you do have them before you today. And that could also show, they don't really go into details, it just shows you what we have in our cash balance, the expenses that occur each month. But we'll be here to be addressing any claim questions, voucher questions that you guys may have.
And I could actually follow up on that as well. First, greetings, welcome to the board. My name is Darrell Blakely, and I'm chairman of the board. I think we can work with the administration to put together a short document highlighting giving more details to the claims to moving forward to address your questions, so that we can proactively have a short sort of a summary that are more descriptive than the batch register and the other things. So I think that would be something that we could do moving forward to address your concerns, but also make sure that we're being as transparent as we can be with spending the public's money.
And so just to also add on that, and that's actually a great idea. The other thing is, what we have done with the other legislative bodies like the Common Council is we have had sessions off record. You're more than welcome to arrange a meeting with the controller's office, with the controller staff, and we can guide you or show you how to read these vouchers, basically. Everything is in the description, but the way our systems generates it can get a little bit confusing and look like they're double payments. I know the Common Council, took some time to also get that. We had to go through that lesson. So it's open. We are welcoming everyone to schedule a session if that's something that you may find beneficial to alleviate some of those questions.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate the efforts of city staff to help us make sure that we're being good stewards of the public money. And thank you, Humphrey. And I appreciate all of the work that goes into putting together these documents for our consideration.
And I also apologize for the last-minute presentation of the monthly financials for January. I know it's not on the agenda, but if the chair wishes, I'm more than happy to go over these just to walk you through what operating accounts we are looking at and things like that. So,
Thank you.
yep.
All right, I think we're going to move to, do we have any old business items to consider?
Well, I'll make a motion to approve the claims.
Oh, sorry about that. Can we have a second for the approval of claims?
Second.
All in favor of the submitted claims, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? The ayes have it. All of the claims have been approved by this body. Moving along, do we have any old business items to consider? Seeing that there's none, I see that we have a presentation from Baker Tilly. It's all yours, Andy.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Andy Mauser with Baker Tilly. Wanted to go through, and I'll try to be brief here this afternoon, but did pass out a copy of a 10-slide presentation. And this is in regards to the April 15th TIF management report. So all redevelopment commissions in Indiana have to prepare this report each year. We've been working now with the Redevelopment Commission since late last year, so this is our first time assisting with this report. But again, this is a report that all redevelopment commissions around the state prepare each year. So wanted to present this to you here today. I'm certainly glad to answer any questions. And then we will work with the Controller's Office to get this uploaded into the Department of Local Government Finance's Gateway website, and then it'll be submitted here over the next month prior to that deadline. So did just want to run through this quickly. Again, feel free to stop me with any questions. Second slide, we do show a list of various reporting requirements throughout the year. This is one of what are, I would say, 3 public requirements, one being the April 15th report, and this is really a backwards-looking report. So this, what's submitted in April of 2025, looks at activity of the Redevelopment Commission in 2024. We do a couple of other reports. We were here last year in November and December to assist with your annual spending plan. So the spending plan's adopted each year by December 1st, and then that controls spending in the following year. So what you adopted in December of 24 then controls your spending in 2025. And then we also prepared a TIF presentation and presented that in December of last year that also is more forward-looking. So that really looks at your TIF areas, not only where they are today, but where they will be through the life of the TIF areas. So happy to certainly share any of that information as it's helpful. But again, this report looks at activity in the previous year. Next couple of slides just show kind of the mechanics of how TIF works. We do show just a chart on the third slide showing kind of the mechanics of how base assessed value is established. As your TIF areas grow, that incremental assessed value is what's captured. And then the goal of those TIF areas is to get that all assessed value back to the tax base when the TIF area ends the end of it, or hits the end of its life. So all 3 of your TIF areas are somewhere in the middle of this chart where they've started to grow, they're capturing, but then within the next several decades they will end, and that assessed value will go back to the overlapping taxing units. Next slide just shows potential uses of TIF. Those have been expanded here in recent years, so there's more flexibility to use TIF for public safety, quality of life improvements. But traditionally, and I think your TIF areas have mostly been used for incentives, so directly incentivizing companies or providing public infrastructure improvements. And those kind of being the two main uses of TIF that we've seen with your TIF areas. So next few slides just show the data and information that has to be uploaded, again, based on what occurred in 2024. We do have to report on Redevelopment Commission members, so listed out the 2024 members. And then you're also required to report on any changes to members in the previous year, which you did not have any, and then any employees of the Redevelopment Commission, which you do not have as well. The next slide looks at your TIF allocation areas. So you have 2 economic development areas, and then within those 2 economic development areas, you have 3 separate allocation areas, one being the Pendleton Pike allocation area, the second being Monarch, and then the third being Meyer Plastics. We list out the T codes, so that's how the county and the state track your individual TIF areas, and then also the dates that each TIF area was established, and then when it will expire. So your Pendleton Pike and Monarch areas were both 30-year TIF areas. Were set up in 2007 and 2008, so they'll expire in 2038 and 2039. And then Meyer Plastics, the most recent TIF area, was set up in 2018 with a 25-year life and will expire in 2043. The next page just looks at financial activity for the previous year. So we report on revenues and expenditures for each of the 3 allocation areas. For Pendleton Pike, you brought in just over $692,000 throughout the year. For Monarch, about $672,000, and for Meyer Plastics, about $212,000. You can then see total expenditures by TIF area, about $404,000 for Pendleton Pike, $791 for Monarch, and about $181 for Meyer Plastics. So Pendleton Pike and Meyer Plastics continue to generate surplus, so that's money that's available for other projects within those areas. Monarch is that facility is no longer utilized by Monarch. We've seen that TIF now no longer covers debt service, so you will notice a slight drawdown in your Monarch balance last year. But we do have plans to review those documents and make sure we understand what you're obligated to pay on those bonds and what you're not obligated to pay, because there may be some TIF from that area that you will be able to hold on to for other uses as well. For the next section, we do categorize all your expenditures based on State Board of Accounts expenditure categories. So you can see the majority of what the Redevelopment Commission spent TIF dollars on last year was debt service. So about $1.5 million, about $1.25 million between interest and principal payments. And then also smaller expenditures on professional services, including consulting, engineering, legal fees, some smaller repair and maintenance type expenditures, and then also your bond trustee expenses as well. You don't provide any grants or loans or distribute TIF to other units, so there's nothing to report on either of those categories. And then on slide 8, we do outline all your existing fund balances. So you've got 4 different funds that you maintain for the Pendleton Pike TIF area. You have your TIF allocation fund, which currently has a balance of just over $1.3 million. And then 3 bond-related funds. You have remaining bond proceeds from the 2022 bonds of just under $1.8 million. Those are dollars that are bond proceeds. Those could be used for capital projects that were approved in those original bond documents within the Pendleton Pike area. And then you also maintain 2 debt service reserve funds. So those are reserves that are set aside through the life of your bonds and then can be used for final payments on the bonds. So there's a reserve related to the 2011 bonds with about $185,000, and then a reserve related to the 2022 bonds with a balance of $250,000. And then you also maintain allocation funds for Monarch in the amount of $972,000, and the Meyer Plastics in the amount of $146,000. We then also list out your debt payments. So the 4 bond issues, 2011 and 2022 bonds for Pendleton Pike, and then 2008 bonds for Monarch, and 2018 bonds for Meyer Plastic. For each of those, we report on total amounts outstanding.
Need some water?
And then also principal and interest payments that you made in 2024. And then you can also see final maturity date on the bonds, the 2011 Pendleton Pike bonds will be repaid here at another payment or two. And then throughout the late 2030s, 2040s, remaining payments on your other 3 debt issuances. We do have to also report on any housing TIF areas. You do not maintain any residential housing TIF areas, so there's nothing to report there. And again, that really covers all the required annual information. So happy to answer any questions. And then, like I said, we will work with the controller's office to make sure this gets uploaded and submitted on your behalf by the deadline here next month.
Thank you, Andy. Do we have any questions for Andy? Thank you for such a thorough overview of your work and the work of this body. Thank you.
So this does need to be adopted or approved by the commission. The next step also is this will go to the council for presentation as well. It used to be just have to be submitted, now it has to be presented.
Okay. Can we have a motion to adopt the annual TIF management report presented by Baker Tilly?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All in favor of adopting the TIF management report as presented by Baker Tilly, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The ayes have it. Any nays? The ayes have it. The report is ready to be presented to the Common Council. Now we have one item of new business, the Executive Director report. Mr. Goodnight, greetings. How are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Good.
So thanks for having me. Greg Goodnight, Chief of Staff for City of Lawrence, Interim Director of Redevelopment. Thanks for having me at my 3rd meeting, second one as the Interim Redevelopment Director. A couple things, just a rough overview. We've had multiple meetings with developers. To be honest with you, some of those are good projects potentially for Lawrence, and some of them are things we really are not really in favor of. Some of those, everything we look at is this going to be an improvement over the existing property? And so think of some of the things you may not want to be as your neighbor. And so we have obviously we take the meetings, we hear them out, we try to make sure if it's a project that we may not fit that part of the city, we try to push them to a part where it would be more desirable for the citizens of Lawrence. So not all those have been good. I've also been in contact with Ball State University's Center for Economic Development, and I want to bring them here, and I've talked to Russell about this, about doing an education, maybe an evening, talking about economic development, community development, bringing in FHRA, the Redevelopment Committee, and the City Council as an education session. So think of this lasting maybe an hour or two. I'm getting tentative dates right now. Probably be an evening, so think of maybe somewhere around 5:30 something, so we could have that in a closed door education session. Last thing, we have been monitoring, and if you haven't been, I'd encourage you to, Senate Bill 1 at the State House, which is going to significantly impact cities, schools, local government, and we get about 45% of the City of Lawrence gets about 45% of their revenue from property taxes. This will be probably a good windfall for large corporations, but it's not going to be good for local government. And so we've been in contact with a lot of elected officials at the State House and other mayors trying to hopefully get that, make sure the impact on that is minimal. So, do you have any questions for me?
Do we have any questions for Mr. Goodnight?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goodnight, and thank you for all of your hard work. Do we have any other business to come before the commission? Now I have a question. Do we go into executive session and then we come back out and then adjourn, or do we just?
So it's been advertised so that it would be upon adjournment. So we'll adjourn
Okay.
a public meeting, and then we have the ability to utilize the Fort Harrison Use Authority office for our executive session.
Okay, fantastic. Just wanted to be clear that we were being proper. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
I move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting adjourned.